Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Big up on yourself, big up on yourself. Just like that.
Just like that. Good night, everyone. What's going on, everybody? Good night, everybody. As you are coming in, you know the drill. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and like. Go ahead and subscribe if you are not a part of the family. Good night. Good night. Hey, Team
Hey, Team Christian, big
Christian.
up
Good
yourself.
night.
Blessings to you.
Hey, hey. How are you? It's so good to have you on tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you come in, go ahead and share. Share, share, share. Go ahead and like. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being out, and I won't say, well, you're early. We're behind time. We're
Yes,
late.
yes.
But thank you so much. Good night, good night, good night. I am so happy to see you guys. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and like. If you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We have a very important topic tonight, and it is postpartum depression in or men or husbands or fathers.
Yes.
And this is a topic that is not very much dived into. We do not necessarily see this a lot. And so before we even get into the topic, we want to welcome everybody again. This is the channel when two become
One.
one. And I am Shanice Layla Bogle. I am a trauma relationship recovery specialist or expert in that
Yes,
field.
yes, yes.
And beside me is no other than the co-host of this channel, When Two Become One.
Yes, 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 yes.
Who's the
my, name,
co-host?
my name is Anthony Bogle, guys. I'm a
Yes.
marriage and relationship speaker.
Awesome.
Blessings, blessings,
Anything else?
blessings.
Anything else?
You always.
Pulling it out of him. But thank
Always,
you guys for
always.
being here. We on this channel we meet every Monday, we meet every Thursday, and we are all about marital refinement and rejuvenation, restoration. We're about healing, we're about passion, we are about purpose. And so if you are here and you're not yet married, that is okay.
Yes.
You can always learn from something so that when you get in a relationship, when you get married, if you get married, you are prepared for the journey ahead. And so we want to get into the topic tonight. We have a very serious one to talk about, and it is postpartum depression in our men, in our fathers, in the husbands. Sometimes, we see men behaving funny. Hello. Hello,
Damani
Acosta.
Acosta.
Why the name looks so familiar? Hi. But yes,
Yes.
so
Big
many
up.
times we see some behaviors in our men and we may not understand why they start to act a little bit funny, especially when children come in the mix. And I just want to ask you as a man, as you're going to steer this conversation, right? To share with our women or share with the wives, for those who may not know, sometimes they said, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the things that men go through, I don't think sometimes we give ear to the men as much as we should.
Yeah.
And so a lot of
Definitely.
men suffer in silence.
For sure,
And
for sure, for
so
sure,
I want
for
to
sure.
ask you to open up for us in terms of how do you feel about the topic, and if you want to start us off with anything specific.
Blessings again, guys. It's a privilege and an honor to be here tonight, serving with my beautiful wife.
Amen.
I will say, um, I think this topic is really important. We
Yeah.
talk about a lot of topics that are important, but I feel like this one is very important. Why? Because it's pretty much directed at a man.
Yeah.
We always do topics, and it's almost like it's always steering down
For the
the
woman.
women's lane, and
Yeah.
and so the choice of really turning things to directly to the men tonight, I think it's truly important. Why? Because it's not always talked about. You know, as men, and I can't, say it enough. We are always expected to be the strong one.
Yeah.
Be the ones that are always, holding the weight in
Yeah.
every aspect of life. We talk about not sharing our feelings, and we have to be strong, and we have to be this, and we have to be pretty much saying, we have to be supermen. But I feel like this topic, and this is why, and I don't want to ramble. This is why I love serving on this channel. Why? Because we've learned so much.
Yeah.
For the times that we've been on, for over a year now.
Over a year.
Over a year since we've been on, we've learned so much.
Yep.
And so just learning about this aspect when it comes to postpartum.
Yeah.
Pretty much down the line of depression in men, where we know that women normally go through this.
Yeah,
We hear it a lot and
more.
the seriousness of it. But to hear that a man also goes through this aspect,
Yeah.
and I think that stat says 1 out of 10 man go through this. Men go through this aspect when it comes to postpartum.
Wow.
So I think it is normal, and why I say it is normal because
Oh yeah.
normal in a sense where we're expecting women to go through this, but women are human just as men.
Yeah.
But I just feel like men deal with things a little more differently.
Okay.
Women a little more vocal, or they're more expressive. So I feel like both genders are able to go through or can go through similar things.
Yeah.
But it's really how each person really, express themselves, and persons are, able to realize, okay, this is this or that is that. So I think it is very potent.
Yeah. Very powerful.
Yeah, very important,
powerful.
and I feel like a lot of persons are really shocked to hear
Oh yeah.
as we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also because it has opened my eyes when it comes to what I had to deal with, or what I went
What
through
you went through.
back in my time, especially just like first time having children, or
Yeah.
my first daughter.
And I feel like you've said you've made a great point. I think many people don't expect men to go through this
Yes.
because they're not the ones carrying the babies. And so it is strange to hear that, okay, why are you depressed? Because you're not the one who went through the body changes, the emotions. That's what we think, So, and it's true. What the females have to go through, the men don't go through that.
Yes.
So why are you guys depressed? That's the idea behind paternal postpartum depression. That's what it's called clinically. And so for men, when we hear that, it's kind of strange. So, but it does happen, guys. It does happen where they go through this. So once again, it's called paternal postpartum depression, or PPD, where men are facing a lot of changes in their families. And if you know a man right now who just had a baby, who just got a child in the home, a new baby, go ahead and share this with them. If you know husbands who are fathers, listen, many times you may not know, we may not know that this is why a man is so isolated, irritated, irritable,
Yes.
frustrated, overwhelmed, especially if the finances are not in tip-top shape. A lot of men go through so many things when a baby comes into the play. And it is supposed to be one of the happiest times of people's lives, right?
Yes.
Couples are expected to be so happy, but it can be one of the most challenging times in a couple's life when a new baby comes on the scene. So, what are some symptoms of this thing? What is it that your partner could be going through that you did not realize? This is what is happening. And so as I talk about the symptoms, I want you to reflect, because you did say that you went through something similar
Yes.
along that lines, and I
You
want you to
stopped it.
share.
You stopped
No,
it.
man, I shared too early. I want you to share with them what your experience was like going through this, because I remember our first seminar back in Jamaica, and one of the interviewers of, I think it was a radio station, asked, "Why am I so invested in mental health?" And my answer was, because I got a front row ticket. I got a front row seat to seeing a lot of the things that people only hear about mentally, psychologically. So that is why.
So the front seat was with me.
Yes, a lot of the changes were
Okay.
things we went through, especially with the accident and things like that. So I saw it all basically. So let's go. One of the first things that you are going to be looking for with a male, a depressed man, or a man who is in a low state for a while. And first of all, let's go to depression. Depression is not something that you just feel sad or you feel bad one day and you just say, "Oh, I'm depressed." No, I feel like we use it, we use that term very loosely. And so that is not going to be qualified as depression. It must prolong for a period of time, probably 3 weeks, 1 month, a month and a half, 2 months. And when it's going into several months and years, that's when it has become chronic, because now you have adopted a routine where you are actually living and managing and functioning with this situation, and it's not healthy. It's not good. But what are some of the things that we're looking for? And I'm going to pause maybe in the first five and then allow you to share.
Yeah, man.
So the first one is this persistent sadness. If your spouse, if your partner, the father of your children that you are around or you live with, he is just consistently sad all the time. He has a low feeling. He feels hopeless. He is not taking action in the house. He's just there, probably just doing one thing, probably like playing games consistently. He has no drive to do anything, to go anywhere. Then this is something you want to take very seriously. Some people realize that their men are not very outgoing after a while, after the baby comes, and then you start to feel like this man don't care for this baby. This man don't care about me. This man probably don't love the baby. But it's not that he doesn't love the child. It's not that he doesn't care about you. It's not that he's not happy to be a father. But there are some things that are happening inside of that man. Maybe fears, anxiety, overwhelm. That is the reason why men go through these things. And so the next one is, I remember a popular thing that people would say is that, oh, the man jealous of the baby. You believe that a man can be jealous of a baby?
Definitely.
Or the
I
time?
just, yeah, no, the jealousy aspect is really based on, no, he's now taking up my time.
No,
Like when it
okay.
comes to like the time that we should have, like the
Yeah.
parents should have, that child is coming between.
Oh, so the time that is
yeah.
being spent with the newborn.
Yes.
Okay.
Mommy's just always with the newborn.
It's true.
Catering to the baby. No, we can't spend no time.
Yeah.
So.
And some parents put the babies and the children over the husband or the spouse, and that is not the right progression regarding, it's not the best progression for your family. It's always God, your spouse, and then your children. I know that is very hard for some parents to hear, but it's not that you're going to neglect your child. You're not. You just have to structure or put it in the right order. I heard somebody say, God blesses order in the family. And that is very true. Absolutely true. So don't let the children divide the time and the attention that you would give to your spouse. Because listen, if you leave kids up to it, they will do it. There will be so much involved and merged and intertwined in every single thing that you do. That spouse don't have no time for you. You don't have any time for your spouse.
Yes.
And we have experienced that until we have to put our foot down and take a stance and say, listen, no more. We have and we need our own time as well. So that's number one. Number two, irritability or anger. Ladies, sometimes your husbands, the father of your children, may be very, very irritable or angry, especially since you had a baby. And you're probably wondering, is he just typically like this? Or I've never seen this part of him? Or where did this part come from? Or I thought that when I had a child for him, things would have been so much better. But then you're realizing that the household seemed more tense with this cute little bundle of joy, and you're wondering what's going on. But we have to be very careful and concerned about these symptoms so that we can make the right steps or take the right steps to remedy your situation. Number 3, fatigue or lack of energy. You think is mommy alone burnt out? No. Mommy alone burnt out? Or were you burnt out when you became a father? New daddy on the block. Did you experience fatigue and burnt out or lack of energy?
Yeah. We talk about lack of sleep. We're not able to
Yeah.
really get the amount of sleep that we need to function. The crying,
Oh, Lord.
that can frustrate you. Sometimes it's not really. It doesn't always mean that
Like you're
it's
the
what
one,
you're doing.
yeah, taking care of the child
Yeah,
directly.
but you're there and the baby is constantly crying. So it
Yeah.
kind of sending a signal to your brain like, okay, how
Oh,
can I
yeah.
stop this? And then you're looking at wifey and wifey stressed out, and then
Yeah.
you're saying, okay, how can I help this situation? You understand? So I feel like
Yeah.
I don't want to say those subtle things, but
Yeah.
the indirect things. It might not be you that's directly dealing with this and hands on with this,
Yeah.
but sometimes you're just sitting back and just watching and seeing how it is, the
Yeah.
sounds and how it is really affecting
Piercing.
your partner. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is it.
Absolutely. And wives,
Yes.
sometimes you might think, oh, why are you getting so upset? Why are you getting miserable? He's just crying. But just as how it does something to you, and maybe you are more accommodating of the baby's cries, but the man, it's sending a signal to the head and the brain. The men probably can't take as much. The capacity
Yes.
to be maternal is not there. They're paternal, and maybe their capacity is not as deep and wide as yours, who is the nurturer. And it's not that they don't nurture, but are they nurturers? That may not be the same capacity as us as mothers. So we also have to take that into consideration. If you just had a baby, or your baby's under 1 or 2 or even 3, maybe even 18, and they're still in the house, please bear in mind your spouse, your husband, who may not be dealing with parent role or parental role the same way you are dealing with it as the mother. We really have to give consideration to the men. They are not always okay, even though they seem to be okay. So number 4, anxiety or worry. You think men don't worry? Men worry a lot too.
Yes.
In their heads, they're worrying. And we have a man right here, so we're going to ask him. Let's use up who we have. So anxiety or worry, particularly about their ability to be a good father.
Yes.
So what are some things you were worrying about when you became a dad? Were you worried about money? This kid that is now in your hands, you have to watch them grow. What were you worried about?
Yeah, I would say both. I feel like once you become a parent, and it says, it affects you, you biologically,
Like,
you know,
yeah, psychological.
yeah, all different areas. You see, it's also said that the dopamine level for a man, your testosterone level goes down.
Yeah.
All these different changes, and what that does is that it helps you to kind of draw closer. I have a newborn baby. I have a baby now in my life. So okay, the attachment style comes in, and
Yeah.
you want to be, just like we just say a mother hen. She just want to be protective, and she
Oh,
would risk
yeah.
it. It's the same thing
Wow.
with a man. It's no that we call dopamine that helps to bring that our the
Yeah.
bonding agent that's in a human being.
So
It's-
that
it's-
push that increases worry for you
yeah,
guys.
and so
Wow.
you're more protective. You're more into the whole aspect of being the defender, the protector, the provider.
Oh wow! Can you imagine
understand?
that, guys? I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I would say both. We worry.
Yeah.
Especially when And I think even just use my experience, you know, I can remember when we went through that period of drought where, you know, we now know finance is low and all that, you know, rent need to pay and we need to get food in the house and the bills need to do this and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it takes a toll. You know, it takes a toll. You know, you're looking at your baby, you're looking at your family and say, okay, I need to get this done. I need to provide. I need to be the man of the house. You know, how can I do this and how can I do that? But as you rightly said, you know, men really deal with that internally. It's not always, you know, voiced or spoken about.
Yeah.
But it does come out in different ways.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you know,
It does
through
come
anger,
out.
through frustration, you know.
Yeah.
Even, let's say before, you know, you were the most patient person, you know, chill person, but, you know, out of the blues, you know, you're this person, okay, I'm just irritated.
Oh, wow.
But I think...
And you've seen that in yourself?
Yes, that was a process that I went through.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest thing is not knowing. Like, you don't know that's really what is going on.
Yeah.
And as we, you know, I was mentioning to you before we came on, I feel like there are a lot of persons, a lot of men that are, you know, especially if you still have young kids in the house, like you're still going through that pattern.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, I don't think it's necessarily based on just having a baby. I feel like it's something that goes on and on. I think maybe until the kids leave.
Now when they leave is another situation of worry.
And why I say that, and I don't want to get past everything, why I say that is because, one, when a baby comes in the home, right, when a baby, before you get a child, you know, it's me and you.
Absolutely.
Me and you, we're all over the place, you know, we're going shopping, we're eating out, you know.
Freedom.
You know, we are teared down the place, you know, the sex is great and the communication and all of that. Now a child comes in, your attention is
on them.
Is in a different direction, you know. We are now focused on that child.
Yeah.
Nurturing that child, making sure the child eat, making sure the child this, making sure the child that.
Yeah.
Especially when sickness comes in, it takes a different toll. So while you're focused on the child and making sure the child is nurtured in the proper way, your relationship is also strained.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yep.
We can't get no sleep for go work. We can't get no time for communicate and really talk about like things to help our relationship grow.
Absolutely.
But now have sex again, especially
Like
not frequently.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So all of these things are now bottled up inside.
That's the word. That's the expression.
Yeah, and we're
bottled
now
up.
at each other. You know, slightest thing we're arguing at each other.
Yeah.
Baby me this and you know it's a lot. So you know it's really a whole lot.
It's a lot. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And so we have the next one. Another thing that you can look out for, ladies, in your men, your spouses, your husbands, the father of your children, if you just had a baby, or even if you have grown kids right now, there could be things that men are bottling up about the fact of how the home is structured with the children and the relationship. So another one that you want to look at is the withdrawal from social activities and interactions, even family activities. Listen, when you find that the man, you're going to the family house and he doesn't want to come, and he wants to stay at home and he wants to stay in the comfort of his own space, and he says, listen, I'm not going, you guys go, it can be a symptom of postpartum depression. And studies did say that it doesn't stop at the baby stage.
Yes.
The newborn stage, it doesn't stop there. It also continues if nothing is done about this. If this is not addressed, it continues. Have you ever experienced that regarding the withdrawal, not going to the places you used to go?
Yeah.
I do remember that a lot.
I was locked. I was
Locked up.
You know, I remember family members would normally call and, you know, where's Tony? Where's Anthony? And I was just in my own world, you know, processing, stressed out, you know, deal with things. But, you know, I must say, I'm grateful for those that were in our corner.
Still supportive.
Yeah, the family members, you know, they know themselves. You know, they have to call name, but, you know, you have, you know, one and two persons that were really dear for us. And, you know, they really kind of make the weight a little more lighter.
Yeah, they did. They
but
did.
I think, again, just as postpartum when it comes to a woman, And any type of depression that a person might go through,
Mm.
it doesn't stop there when it comes to you just getting out of it. Most
Oh yeah.
times you have to get help, professional help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You hear what I'm saying? You have
Yep.
to get professional help. And so that continuation in a
Mm-hmm.
man, it's gonna be there because
Yeah.
you just never deal with it.
Yep.
And the kids are still there. You still have to be a provider if you, especially if you're the main one that's providing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You still have to be the superman of the house.
Mm. Yep. I remember you said something one time where you say a man can be a man can do all that he needs to do, but he's not there.
Yeah,
Something like that.
you're still
Yeah.
it's like pretty much you're on autopilot.
Autopilot. Yes.
You're not there, but you're just
Wow.
going through the motion. You know the trash needs to be taken out.
Just do it.
So you have to drop the kids to school. You're just functioning pretty much. But the emotional side and the true connection
Unlinked.
is just
Yeah, that's
it's
almost
just-
sounds
it's
like
just thrown outside.
dissociation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you have even just in marriage, you have a lot of persons that are just functioning,
Wow.
no connection. You're just doing the do because okay, we're in this house together. We're just going through the motion,
Wow.
but
Expectations.
no real connection.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
That's important. That's a good one. That's very deep. All right. So we have another one, which is difficulty concentrating on or making decisions. So difficulty concentrating or making decisions. I don't know if that ever happened to you during your process where you had a lot of struggle making decisions, maybe for the family,
Of course.
or the financial moves that you say, okay, next month this is gonna get done, and next month come and you're still at square one.
Of course. I think that was one of the number one thing.
Tired eyes.
Guys,
Guys.
and that was the reason. And that was the reason I made some foolish decisions. You're
Uh-huh.
trying to.
Stress me out, man.
You're trying to create. Sometimes we talk about generational wealth. And You're
Yeah.
just trying to create something that can help to cushion life
Yeah.
long term. Especially, you have no a child in the home. You're not creating a family.
Yeah.
You're just making some decisions, but also
Wow.
yeah, you're just trying to make the best decisions. And because sometimes you just get so bombarded with thoughts and where
Yeah,
to go and
yeah.
how to do this, and you have the money right in front of you. You say, well,
Yeah, absolutely.
if I do this, I might lose everything. So it comes with the stress. It
Yeah.
comes with stress also.
The risk factor of
Yeah, the risk factor, yeah, it comes
Yeah.
with the stress. And then you find yourself using the money to pay bills, and you're saying, okay, remember when we used to like borrow loans, and you have to make a decision where you're going to turn over this money, or
flip
else
it. Yeah.
you're going to be out
Dog
of
never
funds, and
supper.
it's now coming out of your pay, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
all I'm doing is just living and paying
Bills.
loans. So all the above.
All right. Thank you for
All the
sharing
above.
that. All right. So want to talk about even the changes in sleep and appetite. So this is a big one where a lot of men, they're not sleeping like they should. They're not eating like they should. You're wondering what's happening to this man, or they're eating way more than they usually do, or they're sleeping more. And ladies, please take inventory. Like, please
Yes.
check in, even on the smallest changes. When you bring a child home, whether your baby's 1 or 2 or 3, and you see the shifts in your home, please ensure that you are paying attention. The changes in the man, pay attention, because not all the time it's due to infidelity. Not all the time it's because he's at the road, or he's out in the road seeking somebody else. It's not always that.
Yes.
A man can legit be unlinked. Dissociation.
Yes.
He's checked out. He's there functioning on autopilot, but he's not present. He's not mindful, but his mind is full. So please be very deliberate. All right. The last one for this, things that you can look for, is thoughts of harming themselves or others, or the children or the family. And we have seen this on the news so many times. Sometimes you think about, why did that man do that to his family? Or why did this man do that to himself? Listen, we are not excusing it. It is wrong, 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 wrong.
Yes.
But at the same time, we must pay attention to the things that are happening in your home. I know not everybody can prevent certain things, but if so many of us ladies were more aware and then we change things based on the concerns we have, then probably some things could have not gone down a certain road. So ladies, please, this is a very important, listen, topic like these, we need to share them because
Yes.
you could just save a family. You can just save a life by simply sharing. Just sharing. Just share, share, share. You can save a life or a family. So the self-harm, I don't know if you've ever thought about that, or any thoughts like down that road, like why did I become a parent? Like why did I become a father? Like I don't know if you have had any thoughts like that. You don't want to say it on camera, that's
No, no,
fine.
no.
I don't know if
No, that's-
YouTube is going to be against sharing certain things.
I would say, a lot of persons do go through a phase where it's so overwhelming that you do question, man, like what is really what is this? You know, it does.
Yeah.
And so, as you rightly said, as wives, or husband, because both persons can be going through that aspect.
Yeah.
We really have to pay attention,
Yes.
and I understand, as mothers, and I can say, because I've seen it, you guys really go through a lot,
Yes.
and it's really disheartening in a sense where you still have to be the one going through that process and still looking over your shoulder to say, I wonder if Hosey all right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
yeah.
hard.
And then worse when we're saying, like, as the woman, he didn't go through no delivery, so
Yes.
why him stressed? Like,
Yes.
why is it that
Yes.
he's depressed? How,
Yes.
how did that happen?
Yes.
Because you're not the one who went through that. Yeah.
Yes, I can definitely understand, but I must say, I feel like every aspect of a marriage, of a relationship, is good to have these conversations
Yes.
before. You understand? Especially if you're winding down to that moment where, okay, we're married and we're having fun, and we're just focused on each other so far. Okay, now we're discussing baby. We have to have these conversations.
Yeah.
In a sense where we're looking, okay, this can happen, these things can happen. We talk about reading books and gaining information.
Yes,
Because
education.
a lot of times, we can find ourselves, because we know the steps, our
Yeah.
parents had us, they get married, so we understand that
Yeah.
whole process. And so what we do, we just run with that blueprint,
Yes.
meaning that it's not like we're looking at fashioning our blueprint, we're just running with that blueprint.
what we know.
The mental aspect of seeing
Yes.
the process, that person get married, them have kids.
It's
Okay.
just bliss.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to go.
Baby in the house now.
Yeah, and so we neglect the information aspect.
Absolutely important.
Learning and understanding. Okay, my
Yes.
body's going to go through this, baby. I feel like when my belly get so big and me have the baby, you're still gonna love me. Yes, or
Yeah.
you think you're gonna feel, and sometimes we might not know.
And self-check first.
Yeah,
Before
like-
we even go to big belly and stretch marks, self-check.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we have to be transparent and open about these conversations.
Yeah.
And so nothing comes by surprise. Babe, listen, this I go change, babe. We now go get enough sleep, babe. You understand?
Yeah,
So I believe a lot of persons dive into different aspects of the process of relationship, marriage, and
Yeah.
having kids, and going through that blindsided.
It's true.
You understand? We're just going with a mental picture of what it looks like without getting information and creating
Absolutely.
our own blueprint before
Yeah.
diving in. And I'm not saying everybody. Some person
Some
they
people
might
really do their homework.
plan to the T and
Yeah.
all that. But I feel like a lot of times
Yeah.
persons dive in based on just the mental aspect of the
Yeah.
process. We see a picture and
Absolutely.
we just know say. And that. But to answer your question, sorry for the rambling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To answer your question, I did go through that,
Yeah.
but it's not on the basis of, oh, why we need to get rid of them kids, and all that.
Oh,
You understand?
wow.
But we do joke around sometimes. But more being,
Don't
you remember when you so enjoy yourself and then people
Yeah.
just, you understand? But I do love my daughters, so
Absolutely.
that does no way. But I do feel like I had moments where the pressure was so heavy. It was more like this is too much for me.
Yeah.
You understand? This process is a lot. And I remember you were at one point when I had the accident, and
Yeah.
you were the main breadwinner, and we moved to a different parish and thing. That was the hardest process for me.
Yeah. Transition.
Because ever since you grew up, I was the one that was really the breadwinner, doing the extra stuff and doing all of that.
Yeah.
And everything was now on you. You understand?
Yeah.
And because of the decisions we made
Yeah.
when we had our child, and everything started to come down,
Yeah.
the wrong decisions that we made or I made came down on us, and so it propelled us, not in a good way, but it's like
In a flat.
yeah, like it
Downhill.
yeah, like we were going deep and deep
Yeah.
and deep, and it was it's like a pit. And so I was depressed. I was out of it.
Yeah.
I was out of it, and so I remember just being so low and
Yeah.
down and locked away, like everything that is mentioned.
You remember
Yes.
going through it.
And
Wow.
now that I am I'm learning and understanding,
Yeah.
I feel like I now understand when I hear the news and I hear certain things, and I'm like,
Sadly.
yeah, it's like you lose your mind. Like if you're not careful, you will lose it. You're looking at this baby like
Who said you?
like it's almost like you're the enemy.
Wow.
You
Wow.
understand? Like you're now looking at this baby like what is this? You're crying. Me can't help you. Me can't do this. Me
Yeah.
can't do that. I can't provide. I can't. And I feel like that's the reason why
Yeah.
some men leave. Some men just leave the family and
Yeah.
and get away. And then you have some men, they seek comfort in somebody else's arms.
Yeah.
Sad to say, because they want peace. You just want to not hear the crying. You just
A
want
sense of control.
yeah, you don't want to hear the wife and bicker about you for do this and you for do that. So, and then you have
Wow.
some, they go to alcohol, they drink a
Substance.
lot, you understand? Some we talk about, they find different areas when it comes to friends. They have a bunch of friends where they might just keep going out.
Yeah. Or the video games.
Yeah, not spending time in the house, just want to be out. So,
Wow.
but let's say I can truly say I now understand.
Yeah.
When I hear the news of women going through this and they might do certain
Wow.
things and whatever it is. Again, it's not right, but I do understand. It's like you lose your mind because you're just stressed out, and everything is just
Yeah.
a blur in a sense.
Wow.
Hopeless. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, right? We've gotten a lot of insight into the mind of a man, right, guys? And I don't know if I want to say I'm sorry that men have to go through this, because I feel, like we go through and we sometimes overlook, you guys.
Yes.
And because sometimes it looks like, and I'm not going to be biased, but I feel like I should. I feel like a female go through so much when it is during the process of pregnancy and the baby, and then after the baby, that we really think about, why is the man complaining? And so for that, I can say, we are really sorry that we overlooked, on behalf of the women who will be watching this. Ladies, we are sorry we overlook the men sometimes. I am sorry if I overlooked you, because to be honest, postpartum depression didn't even come to my mind during the time when he was going through all of these things. And it was afterwards when, we're looking at the list of symptoms and we're saying, oh my God, you're checking out for all of these things, not even one or two, but
Mm,
for all of them. And so we really want to be way more aware and compassionate for our men, towards our men.
definitely,
So,
definitely. You know,
yes,
I
definitely.
just want to add also, and I think it is very important.
Yeah,
We talk about healing, guys. We talk
yeah,
about healing, um, and it's so important,
yeah,
especially we talk about, before marriage,
yeah,
understanding yourself and learning about certain traits and, going back
yeah.
in your thoughts, in your mind about things that might have affected you. And again, I do understand because, when I say I do understand, I'm talking off the basis of a lot of times a person might not know
Yeah,
what is really going on, or certain things might not come up until you're in a certain situation.
yeah, absolutely.
You understand? You might have said, okay, this is me, but there could be hidden things that comes up only that came up only when you're put in the situation.
Yeah, when the
You're
thing
not,
happened.
yeah, you're not with this, and you want to say, but wait, I really do this?
Yeah.
You understand? This is me. I remember, and you have spoken to me a lot about it. Your parenting style,
Oh, yeah.
your parenting style, and how I was in those moments, how I was responding to the children, how I was responding to my daughter. That was
Yeah.
my first daughter at the time. Or I would cuss and I would, you know,
Sound aggressive.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
just sound like, you understand. And if you put a little spank, it's almost like it's almost like
You're
you're
triggered.
yeah, like the slightest little thing. If she come and say, "Daddy," you're triggered by it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And so it, for me, it went back into just how I was brought up, in my household, how my parents, used to scold me, and how they used to, you talk about how them talk to you.
Attachment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, boy, like, what you ball for? Like, you
Yeah.
boxing in your face. Like, these are the things that, and I can say a lot of us grew up on with our parents, and
Yeah.
and the reason why they're that way is because of their trauma, like
Their
things
parent.
that, they were attached to growing up in their
Yeah.
parental surrounding. And so we bring that over into our relationship and how we deal with our children.
Yeah.
You understand? So if you're not healed, you know, if you're not at that place where your parenting style and
Yeah.
how you deal with stress and how you deal with certain things, I guarantee you, when these moments come, you ever hear them say you black out?
Yeah.
You might black out and wake up and wonder, say, yo, what is this?
Wow. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that, especially those who did the unthinkable and then are arrested. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow, wow,
You
wow.
understand? Mothers
God
do
forbid.
that, having 3 kids
Oh, yeah.
and do that. And when you look, person would say she was a good mother. She
But
now
in
want to
that
see her kids
moment.
play with her kids and whatever, but you don't know they were there dying for hunger. You understand? The kids were
Yeah.
hungry, and it's easy when, as a mother, you can go out
Wow.
and you maybe go hungry for days, or you might eat a biscuit and drink a soda.
But not the kids.
But you're looking, say, okay, my kids need
Not the
substance.
children.
They
Yeah.
need food. They can't go through this.
Yeah.
And so instead of saying, okay, maybe reach out to somebody or do
Yeah.
this or do that, it's like in her mind at the moment, because of the whole stress and everything that she's, going through, is just one way out.
Wow. So sad. I remember this mother, she was really begging. This mother was begging, begging, begging someone to take her daughter from her. She was crying, she was begging. She said, if someone don't take this child from me, you're not going to see her after that.
Yes.
After this. And it broke my heart because I was looking at like, oh Lord, when people are really desperately crying for help, don't ignore it. because nobody wants to be in a certain position. If it's a lack of finances, guys, don't look down on somebody who is really in a terrible
Yes.
spot. If it's a father who is begging and they may seem like they ask a lot, or you're tired of them asking you for a little help here, a little help there, don't ignore people's desperate cry for help unless that person has no ambition. But people generally don't just get up and beg.
Yes.
People don't just generally get up and just keep asking you. It's not because some of them are worthless. I mean, some can do better, but it's not that all the time. You don't know the process and the positioning of that person's season. And so if you can help people, help somebody. Because if you see certain things on the news with the same person who used to ask you, you're going to feel guilty. And at that time, it's going to be too late.
Yes.
It is going to be too late. There's so many things going through my head because of situations like what I just talked about that I have experienced that I can't say on the internet. But if you ignore people's cry for help, you may just see something on the news that is going to flip you, and you're going to say, if I had known, I would have helped. So when you see a man and they seem like they zone out and they are not really up to par, up to speed in their role as father, don't ridicule. Don't be, the first thing you should do is not to judge and criticize, but reach out to say, hey, how are you doing? How are you now processing? Now you're a dad, a new baby is home. How you doing? You sleeping enough? Ask. And the first person to ask is not somebody outside the house. The person who you live with, that female, should be the first one checking in and asking you.
Yes.
And I mean, she is focused on her own recovery, and that's great. That's what she needs to focus on, and the maintenance of that baby. But also find the time to check in on your spouse, because men need it too. They absolutely need it too. They need it too. All right, so let's go look at quickly, and we're not going to discuss it, we're just going to touch on it. Some of the reasons men are going through these things. When it comes down to paternal postpartum depression, it involves hormonal changes, stress, lack of sleep. We talked about that. Changes in the relationship dynamic. We talk about that. Long time you and the man don't go out because this baby is there. Your precious, sweet bundle of joy is there, but it's changing. That child is changing the dynamic of the relationship, which is fine, but we have to plan around them. So our life is not, oh, they make it worse. No, we now plan our lives with them in mind, right? We live for them now. So, and the next one is the pressures of new fatherhood. We did talk about that. Please remember that we need to reach out for the help for our men, because it is not something that has to stay that way. It is treatable. Depression, postpartum depression in men, it's very treatable. It's reversible. And let us not forget the spiritual aspect, where the enemy will use any opening to put in a foothold, like to have a foothold in that person's life to dismantle your family. So that is why we really need to be aware and be vigilant in every season of life. So how do we help a man who is going through this? We don't want to just talk about the information, but we want to talk about the help. How do we help them? And we have some tips here that we want to quickly speak on. If you don't have anything else to share, we're going to talk about some tips. All right, so the first one is to encourage that man, encourage your husband to acknowledge the feelings. And sometimes, ladies, we have to lead the way by saying, I know you feel this way.
Yes.
I know you feel a little bit left out in the process of this baby's here now. It would have been you and me up until 12, 1, 2, but guess what? The baby's here and you have to be out in the living room by yourself, or you have to be in the other room by yourself. And me and baby is just snuggled up. We're snuggled up and you are on the outside. So you're left out in the cold, and I know you feel some type of way, right? We have to acknowledge it so that they would probably be prompted to say, say, yeah, or yeah, for real, I feel away. Some would probably deny it at first, but ladies, normalize acknowledging what they may be going through. And before you can normalize, you have to be aware, right?
Yes.
You have to have the education that this is a thing, this is a real thing. So normalize it. The next one is to encourage open communication. Tell him, hey, it is okay if you're feeling this way. Encourage him. It is okay. If you want to cry, if you want a hug, it is okay. Just be open. I am here to listen. I'm here to talk. I can accommodate. And this is not just in words, it is also in body language. It's also in the gestures.
Yes.
It's also in I see you. Let us still communicate with each other. And it's not always intercourse, because after you have a baby, that kind of put on pause for a little bit, right?
Yes.
But it is in the other ways you guys speak even without words. The next one is seek professional help. The depression time frame, like I said before, you can't go to the doctor 1 week and say, hey, I'm depressed. That is not going to be taken it's not going to be taken seriously, because your feelings are valid, but there cannot be a diagnosis of that in 1 week. By law, it has to be beyond 3 weeks to a month, going into 2 months. That time frame now starts to say, okay, you're in this state, because your brain, your body, it functions by state. So even with trauma work, what state are you in? For prolonged periods, that is the time when someone or a medical professional can say, okay, let's now look into diagnosing. But there's no diagnosis in 2 days feeling sad or a week feeling sad. That is not going to be something that they do. So seek help. You can talk to somebody who you really trust. Men, maybe it's your pastor, your father, your leader, maybe it's your mother, mom, no, wifey has a baby. Like, find someone you can talk to. Maybe it's your bestie, maybe it's the guys you hang out with. People who are responsible and wise. They may not be dads, true, but some of them may be able to support and foster that open communication. The next one is to monitor signs for depression. Wives, if you are going to monitor, like we say, you must know the signs. And so, as hubby said, before you guys give birth, before you give birth, mommy, please ensure that both of you are reading together. That baby book is not just for the cute baby pictures, and it's not just to plan the wait, what's that thing that they do after the baby is born? Maternal newborn photo shoot. Yeah, newborn photo shoot, that is very popular now. It's not just about that. It's not just to learn routines of new parenting, but also the ugly sides to it. Both of you should be reading and preparing as much as possible. You won't catch everything, right?
Amen.
You're not going to catch everything, but guess what? It's better to be prepared for some things or most things than not be prepared at all, or be not fooled by your own ideas, but thrown off by your own ideas of what parenting is. And the next one is provide emotional support. So you are your first part, you are your partner's first go-to support. If that is not happening because of what you are going through, mommy, as the wife who just gave birth, or the mom who just gave birth, you can partner or have somebody pre-planned. Let this person know that, hey, if hubby is here and he's not well, can you be his accountability partner? Can you be his support partner? If you guys want to do counseling or coaching, we have a lot of birth coaches who do paternal, maternal, prenatal, and postnatal care. Coaching is booming with every possible topic. So there are a lot of those people available. There are counselors, therapists who specialize in the areas of prenatal and postnatal life. So there's so many help out there, so much help to support your partner. Also, shared parental responsibility. Sometimes when we lock out the men and the women are doing it all with the newborn, that bond in the baby newborn stage is so much more stronger with mommy, and this also can put a strain or raise cortisol level in the men. Cortisol is stress. Stress levels are elevated because anxiety and nervousness and worry, and then they start to form their own little ideas of she loves this baby, or this is the new love of my wife's life. Did you think that this child is the new love of my life?
No.
Never was
No,
jealous.
no. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever been down that road.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
I
because
do.
it was two girls.
Not,
What
not,
if it was a son?
no, no, no.
Oh.
My thing was just more about, after they got to a certain place or a certain stage, when are we going to know rekindle?
Yeah, or a little thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because especially Jamaican
Yeah.
kids, they want to, yeah, and experience a lot of time we accommodate
Sleeping in the
that
same bed, yeah.
foolishness. Yeah, we
Say that
accommodate that
foolishness.
foolishness. They want to sleep with you until
They're 20.
they are 50. They want to live in your bed.
True.
You understand? So I feel like once they get to a certain place, you can say, listen, this is what it is. And that's why
Yeah.
the American culture is so different. They
The
allow their
newborn
kids.
put the bed itself
Yeah,
to bed.
do I agree?
Ah.
No, I
Not
don't.
so early.
Not so early. I want to be able to monitor the child because the child can turn, the child can do this, the child can do that. Sometimes they use the baby monitors to say, okay,
To listen.
but you fall asleep,
Oh yeah.
really tired and you're gone. You don't really know what's going
And
on.
you notice the culture, the cradle death
Yeah.
is so high
So
in
high,
America,
so
very
high,
high,
so high.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But in the Caribbean, you don't really have parents leaving newborns in no crib by no room by themselves. We don't do that.
Yeah. So I do appreciate that we can be able to watch them grow and have them.
Yeah,
But
snuggled
I
up
feel
for
like at a
longer.
certain time, you have to break that out of them. You get them own room so they
Yeah,
can get
though hard.
accustomed to their own space, and
Yeah,
if they have a
absolutely.
sibling, they can really bond with their sibling, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yep.
I feel like that's, you're still reading.
Oh yeah, I have
Okay.
about three more. All right. So the next one is, guys, encouraging physical activity. You and your partner, or tell hubby that, if, listen, you're feeling this, you're dealing with this, go on some walks, because when you encourage physical activity, husbands, fathers, if you're listening, I know it may feel like, oh, listen, and he knows because he's been through some of it. It feels like isolation is your best friend, and not doing what you used to do is your comfort zone now. Going out to do something, maybe playing football if you play football, or soccer, whatever you have available. Maybe it is what's that new sport now, or that new hobby that everybody use, pickleball, or it's walking, something as simple as walking or jogging, or some stretches. Do something that's physical, because that actually does alleviate symptoms of depression. Why? Because it's helping your nervous system regulate. And regulation will help to throw off the intensity of those symptoms. So the next one is promoting rest and sleep. If you can get somebody to do some things that you would have had to do, like going to get the groceries, or a family member coming to take the baby, so that you guys can rest, that you guys can get some sleep. Because if you don't sleep, that stress level is going to be elevated. And guys, for those who are very, very, very much, listen, this used to happen to us, where because we are faith based, and our church schedule was Monday, Tuesday, sorry, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Maybe it was 1 or 2 time church never keep. But if you are somebody who are like that, you're in that kind of religious space, please stay at least one or twice of those nights and sleep. You have to sleep, because the more you keep going and going and going and going, you're going to be burnt out, and you're not going to be in tip-top shape to accommodate your newborn. Take some time to rest. Don't drop down or don't get snappy with your wife and then you're wondering, why am I feeling this way? Your state of feelings, your emotions can become so confused that you're wondering if it's love, you love your family, or you don't love your family, or you're overworked, or you're overwhelmed. Your brain start giving mixed signals and you start wondering what's happening with you when many times you're sleep deprived. You are sleep deprived. So please take that into consideration. Ladies, normalize the experience. That's the next one, number 9. Normalize their experience. We talk about that already. So don't overlook what they're saying. Let your spouse know they're not alone. You understand. You know they're going through this. You show empathy rather than criticize. Oh yeah, man, you never push out the baby. Why you feel that way? No. Empathize, normalize their feelings. The next one is to avoid making them feel like they're a burden. Your spouse is not a burden. Your husband who is going through, or the father of your children who is also facing a hard time after the newborn, is not a burden. And I know, ladies, we're looking to them to be the carrier of these burdens that we went through physically, emotionally, mentally. We're saying, listen, we're the ones carrying the burden because we did this thing. You just sat there, look and listened, and then welcome newborn. But they are not a burden. And though they're burden carriers, they also should be carried at times because they have feelings too. The next one is to build a support system. Listen, we can't encourage this enough. Men have a support system outside of when you became a father, especially if you're married. Your support system can't just be people who you talk to online, people who you once in a while you see. That's not your support system. That is not. So if you can get a group of people, like family groups, friend groups, who are of wise counsel, somebody who can share experiences with you, somebody who are fathers, people who are fathers, maybe your in-laws, maybe your church people, maybe if you don't go to church, maybe it's a group that you know that you can rally upon, and you can always call for assistance in times of need, but you need some sort of support.
Yes.
No man is an island. And I am concerned about those men who are always alone and by themselves. I know not everybody likes to be in the crowd, and some people are different personalities, introverted, some extroverted, but guess what? Even if it's one person, because your spouse may not always be there, especially in this context when wife is trying to come back to her usual self after a baby. You hubby may need, and you fathers, you husbands, you may need somebody to help you, not the opposite sex, not a comfort in the times of storm, but male friends or mature, motherly, wise woman who can really help you along this journey. The next one is, again, is the biggest one. Ladies and gentlemen, and educate yourself about postpartum depression, with females, with men, husbands, fathers, you name it. Educate yourself about this situation and address it with empathy. This is not just about women because we gave birth, but men fall in this space and place as well.
Hallelujah. You know,
Amen.
I just want to add that, you know, men, and I do understand, a lot of times we do feel like, we are big, we are mighty, and we can do it, all by ourselves, and we know everything, and
Yeah.
we don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I must say, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to speak on how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that is why it's so important. Again, guys, before you go down that road in making, I'm talking about in your marriage, in making life-changing decisions.
Yeah.
Because I strongly believe, starting, with the whole kids having kids and all of that was one of the biggest,
Absolutely.
because they're there with you until
God
till God
says.
come, pretty
Yeah.
much. You understand? You have kids. They're going to be your children, and so you have to foster. You have to create a safe environment before. You understand? You have to create a safe environment before. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to share your feelings. You have to be able to make conscious decisions.
Yeah.
And we will fail on certain things. I'm not gonna say the decisions that we make in every year of our lives we're gonna come out saying, oh yeah, but foster a healthy environment, because when these children come,
Yeah.
it's gonna change so much.
Yeah.
It's no longer you and your partner. We're going out and we're having fun and we're doing this and we joke around with certain
Yeah.
things and we do. No, the focus would be on the children or that child.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, guys? So if you're not able, because I truly believe a lot of times why things go left. Just imagine being in a relationship where you don't not communicate the right way.
Yeah.
We don't have no money, like finances set a certain type of way. But we're bringing children, or we're bringing a child into the equation. It's gonna be worse.
Yeah, it can be.
It's gonna be worse. You understand? Because you look to provide pampers, like all the above.
Yeah.
You're on a clinic dates and everything gonna come in the picture. You have to feed that child, like you have to do everything now
Yeah.
for that child. Neglect your
Absolutely.
own self. I know you're focusing on raising a child together, or kids together, because you're persons that keep going like the Energizer Bunny, children after children after children. You understand, guys? So you have to be able to foster that environment before,
Yeah.
because it's gonna test you. You understand? It's gonna test what your marriage is built on. It's gonna test what your relationship is built on. A child,
And what you are made of.
yeah, and you're going to test what you're made of, and that's why I made the point when I talk about understanding how you respond to pressure.
Yeah. So
Learning
important.
yourself, how do I respond to pressure? Like, if you have been in moments where stress comes and money this comes, and how do you respond?
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, you start look at this child as the problem, as the
Hindrance.
issue. What was your parental style growing up with your parents? How did they reprimand you? How do they do this? Because when these moments come, you will find yourself snapping. You start sending word curses and all kind of stuff
Oh.
to your children. You look
Very
at what this
important.
boy.
Yes.
You look at what
So
this boy.
important to
Yeah.
say.
You look at what this girl. You now come out to not like you find
You
yourself.
like your daddy.
Yeah, you start sending these word curses to your child
My
because
God.
of anger, because of how you were brought up and what you were exposed to, things that you might look at, okay. And even if you're not remembering, it's going to be lodged in your subconscious, because you're not a big grown person. It's lodged in your subconscious, so what is coming out is just a ripple effect of
your
what you have
character.
gone through and who you have become,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this in that process to where you are as a
Amen.
married man or a married woman.
Amen.
So it's good, guys. It's important to analyze
God.
yourself before. Make proper preparation when it comes to conversation about that process of having children or having a child, and have these conversations.
Amen.
Read books, like all that my wife just
And the
mentioned.
spiritual implication. And I'm so happy you said that, because I want to encourage everybody, whether you're a mother or a father, if you remember having ever said anything negative about your child, go tonight and pray for that child. Or even if you don't go in their spaces or in their rooms, before you go to bed tonight,
Don't.
before you go to sleep, because this is very important, pray against what you said. Reverse what you said. Renounce what you said. Denounce what you said. This is very, 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 very important. Do not set up your children for failure. And one of the biggest ways we do that as parents is the words we say over them. Word curses are very real. So please go and ask the Lord to forgive you for what you said and free up your children. Free them up, free them up, free them up. Reverse it and pronounce a blessing upon them, every single one of them. Whether you're financially stable, whether you're struggling, whatever your situation, if you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you feel like you don't want to be parents anymore, you don't know how to handle the situation, you're separated, your partner gone leave you with these kids, renounce what you have said about them. And even by extension, those who don't live with their spouses anymore, if your spouse has left tonight and you're with the children by themselves, be very careful what you say even about the partner. Yes. So, hi Samantha, renounce what Samantha. You have said and do not curse your children. Sometimes it is very easy to fall in that trap because naturally you're going through the hurt of having to parent alone, or fathers, we're talking about the daddies tonight. Sometimes it is so easy to speak things because of out of the abundance of the heart, the frustration, the overwhelm, the anger, the irritability. Yes. Ask the Lord to forgive you and renounce, reverse what you have said about that child or about your children. Very important. Very important. We can't get into all of that tonight. Probably another night we'll touch on word curses over your kids. But sooner or later you see them start acting certain ways. You have made them stuck spiritually. And that theme is still in operation based on what you said. And the reason it stands firm is because you are a parent and spiritually you have authority over them. Because that is how it goes. Amen. So God bless you guys.
Guys, before we go, you know, I remember a few months ago, maybe over a year, I spoke about my channel. Yes. You know, Journey to Man.
Yes.
You know, I feel like these are the topics that I really want to, you know, really talk about. You know, I kind of use this as a stepping stone to really move into that whole aspect, you know. I really think, you know, when it comes to a man, again, we don't really talk much on this topic. I want to really direct it at man, you know, speaking to a man, you know, raising up men of valor, like men that really will stand up in the gap and in their place when it comes to whether it's a husband, whether you're single, whether you're married. You know, females, you can go and subscribe. It's Anthony Bogles, Journey to Man. You'll see my face on. So please go and subscribe, guys. I'm thinking about starting, if it's not Saturday, it's next Saturday.
Oh, so every Saturday you'll be live.
Yeah. You know, where I'll go on and I really want to talk on these things, like things that are really affecting men on a whole. So, you know, women, you know, wives, you can come on and really learn some things. I do want to start because I know, you know, we're in a time where, again, you know, because of our culture, men on a whole, and how we deal with internal things and you know, and a lot of times it's when things really get out of hand, where, you know, okay, if we could have do this, if we could have, but so I'm ready to stand in the gap where I want to talk on these things, and I'm hoping that men, you know, your husbands or your sons, you know, at a certain age will come and really listen.
Yes. Death and life is in the power of your
definitely,
tongue.
Brad. Definitely, Brad. You know, where men can come and learn some things, and we can have a conversation. You can share your thoughts on certain things that I might be talking about, and, you know, we can have a good time. So, again, it's Anthony Bogle.
I placed the link in the chat.
Yeah.
It's the one above Bradley's comment.
Journey to Men. So if you have not subscribed,
click on the link. It's right there in blue.
Yeah, if you have not yet subscribed, guys, go on and subscribe.
Amen.
So we can really have a great conversation, guys. So.
I'm excited for that. The men really need something.
Yeah.
Men, support the men, ladies.
Yeah.
And if you're a man, go support. And don't
Definitely.
forget the seminar. I also posted the seminar link with that Jamaican flag right there. If you're in Jamaica, the seminar, we're under the theme From Hurt to Healing, Pursuing Emotional Wellness in Singleness, Marriage, and Divorce. And either if your partner is no longer living, pursuing emotional wellness and moving from a place of hurt to healing. There are strategies to healing and maintaining in healing. No, it will be on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it will
The
be
YouTube channel.
on the YouTube channel, Brad.
So click the link, Bradley, and you'll be taken over to Journey to Man to subscribe. All right. So once again, if
Let's
you are
do it,
not in Jamaica, that's where the seminar will be held. If you are going to be there, please consider signing up, registering. Click the link to register. And we are excited. We're going to have a wonderful time in the Lord. All right. So thank you and have a great night. Good night, everybody.
Yes, guys.
We really hope that you learned something. Do I need to pay right away? Absolutely not. You have until May 10th. So payment information is there and RSVP date is also there. So you have until the 10th of May to submit. Why? Because we need to let the hotel know who will be there. So it will be at the Terra Nova All Suites Hotel. All right? Excitement, right? All right. Good night, everybody.
Big up,
See
guys.
you.
Big up, Brad. Big up, Brad. Big up, big up, big up.